I wanna do now is making it last. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends forever, strengthening the ties that keep us together. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends forever, strengthening the ties that keep us together.
Making It Last podcast. It's all about where we encourage you to have better relationships, not just with those immediately around you, but also with the wider society. I'm Noreen Daly, and it's time for another conversation. And the topic for discussion this time around is how can we spend time to know the temperaments of individuals so as to have better relationships. I have three lovely young people with me this time around, and I'll ask them to introduce themselves.
I'm Gabrielle Thompson, a final year journalism major at Northern Caribbean University and a producer and reporter at the NCU Media Group.
I am Andrew Forsythe, final year television major at NCU.
And I am Romee Gayle, final year psychology major, NCU, director of projects and special initiatives of USM.
She just rattled that off, assuming everybody knows what USM means. It means the United Student Movement, which is a student governing body at Northern Caribbean University. Now, I've always thought that we don't spend enough time on our relationships when our relationships actually, to a large degree, define what we do, how we do it. So that is one of the reasons we're delving into this topic this time around, which is how we can spend time to know the temperament of individuals so as to help us to have better relationships. And yes, what we're saying, we're hoping that you can at least find one thing that you can try to help to have better relationships with those around you. So, Gabby, what is your take on this topic?
Well, how we can spend the time with or in our relationships, I'm going to be looking at intimate relationships.
Okay.
So one of the most important things you can do is to identify your love language. And what this is what is your relationship like between you and your significant other? How do you speak to each other? What do you say? What are the things you enjoy doing together? There are some couples who like to sing together, some couples that walk, some couples that are simply all right being in the same room with each other. And problems will arise if you're constantly comparing your relationship, any relationship at all, particularly intimate ones though, with another person's relationship. For example, my significant other and I have been in a relationship for 3.5 years, and we have very different personalities. I tend to be more talkative in public scenarios and he's more quiet. It somewhat flips when we are alone. So I'll come down and then he'll be the more talkative one. But should I be comparing my relationship to that of somebody else, I might not appreciate my partner as much because I'm saying, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why don't you say that thing like that? Why aren't you bringing me this? But the reality is that our love language might not be that. For example, when I had exams to study for, he stayed up with me to study those exams, and I didn't go to sleep until after 1, but I had somebody with me, egging me on, helping me to study. Somebody else might have somebody who writes a poem for them or sings them a song or is able to purchase them something. Different persons show their love for their significant others in different ways. And one of the ways that you can make your relationship better is identifying your love language. How can I appreciate what this person does for me in our relationship? And love languages are unique to different relationships. Doing so helps to cut out assumptions and negativity from relationships.
Romee?
I just think it's important because Gabby was talking about the love languages. I think it's important for us to share with our audience what exactly the love language categories are.
Okay.
And the 5 love languages are 1, physical touch, 2, quality time, 3, words of affirmation, 4, receiving gifts and acts of service, 5 acts of service. So I think this sets the tone and sets the standard for our discussion because not everybody
Would understand.
understands the breakdown of it. We, in order to make our relationships better, or the question was, how can we
Spend time
spend
to know the
time?
temperament of individuals.
Yes, right. And I think even before the love languages come in, when we were growing up, all of us heard that you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. I think it's important for us to focus on that for a little bit, because if we observe more and we listen more to each other, instead of always speaking, always being the one to share, always putting our thoughts and our opinions out there, then I think that would set the tone for us to have better relationships, because then we would care more and we would hear more, because we'd be listening and we'd be watching for what our significant others or colleagues and the other persons that we work with to, because people are always expressing who they are. People are always telling us, showing us who they are, what they like, those things. But sometimes we're just not attentive enough. Sometimes we just want to say, sometimes we just want to impose our beliefs or opinions or lifestyles on others. And we don't take enough time to listen enough and watch enough to what others are saying or others are doing. So this can help us when we pay more attention to enhance our relationships by looking at others and understanding their temperaments from what they do and what they say.
Now, your colleagues, co-workers, believe it or not, you have a relationship with them. And no 2 persons are the same. I might be this quiet young man who just takes anything for anything. And then you have the other person who might be this aggressive person who is just always angry. Now, communication includes body language, believe it or not. And temperament. Well, body language is one very important way to observe someone's temperament or learn their temperament. In the workplace, you're gonna meet a lot of persons with different temperaments, but as Romee said, observe, observe, observe. If you don't learn that when your boss is angry, he is quiet, then you and your boss, you're going to get in trouble, because you're going to do something the wrong time when he's angry and when he's quiet. But you don't know that he's angry because you didn't observe him. Then that is the wrong time to make a mistake at work, because that could ultimately mean you getting fired. So it's important. For me personally, when I go into any environment, they don't know I talk, because I am in that environment for a while, observing, learning people, getting to know them, getting to know what ticks their tack, if there's something like that. But yeah, you get to know people, and this is how you know when to do what, and all of this also goes back down to your personal relationships, whether that be your intimate significant other, or your family, your brothers, your sisters, your mother, your father. So it is important, and I think it's the number one thing when you meet someone for the first time and you're around them for a couple of days. Observe, observe, observe.
It's easier said than done, though, because we live in a culture. Some of us have the mindset that if I'm around you long enough, it's as if I'm just supposed to just know certain things. So, somebody's saying, yeah, it's easy for you to talk. You're students, you probably don't have a whole lot of things to juggle. Like maybe I do, who I'm listening. I'm a mother, I'm a father, I have all of these different things to juggle. So, I mean, observation will take time. Listening takes time. Listening is not something we do often enough. So, how how can you convince somebody who's here being very skeptical and cynical, saying this is all talk, ladies and gent?
Well, I mean, it does take time. No one person can be read, can read up somebody in a short space of time, because it takes time. Even the same person you're trying to read or the person you're trying to observe, they too don't know themselves fully as yet. So it's going to take time.
Okay.
I think most of us here are persons with very busy schedules. We work in our free time, and then we go to classes. We get a little break after class. We are back at work. We have assignments to do. We go to bed 2 and 3 o'clock in the mornings. But it's a process, and if you are interested in ensuring that you have relationships that last and that means something to you, then you will take the time out to get to know people. Don't just assume that this person is this type of way.
One of the important things that I want everyone listening to do is to go back to the beginning and listen carefully. We never claimed that this would be easy, because the truth is that it isn't. And I'll say this again, communication is hard because it's so easy. And I spoke on intimate relationships. Now, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work for you to get what you need to do done in order to find out about this person you're in a relationship with. For most persons, being in a relationship means that you want to spend the rest of your life with this person. If you can't care enough to find out how this person thinks and how they feel, maybe you shouldn't want to spend the rest of your life with them. And you have to understand and respect somebody else's emotions. It's very important to understand or try to understand what a person is thinking and how they feel in an intimate setting, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with this person. You're going to be having more than one discussion with this person. You're going to want their feedback. And so spending the time to find out how this person thinks and feels and acts in certain situations is critical. And if you love this person as much as you say you do, or you care about them as much, they should be worth it. And as much as they should be worth it to you, that person should be putting out as much energy as you are into them, as they are into you. So it's a joint effort. So finding out about somebody, and Andrew said that, and that's so powerful and profound, we don't even know ourselves as yet. So expecting somebody to be coming to the table with 100% is going to be very difficult, because they are still figuring themselves out. What you can do to show that you care, invest time to find out your love language, and invest enough time to say, listen, I care, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how hard this is. I've been in a relationship for 7 years, and on Monday, I found out something new. That she loves Nisberries. I did not know this. That is how hard it is to get to know someone. 7 years. So it's not easy.
As simple as that sounds, finding out that she loves Nisberries, I'm glad he said it, because I want us to acknowledge the fact that we keep on growing. As long as we live, we keep on growing, we keep on developing, we change over time. So not because he met her 7 years ago, or they've been together for 7 years, don't take it for granted that, okay, we've been together for a long time, I know everything about you. Because tomorrow she may get up and she may end up, liking pears, and he'd have to change, what he does, what he chooses to buy for her, because yesterday it was Nisberries and today it's pears. I also was thinking while Gabby was talking how important emotional intelligence is. I feel like sometimes, as Gabby says, we're not attentive enough to the other person. And we give them what we came to the table to give, not knowing or not recognizing or acknowledging that that's not necessarily what the person wants or needs, right? So we need to pay attention and be so emotionally intelligent that we stay attentive, stay in tune to what the other person wants. It's something that I had to learn, because I have friends who are attracted to me because I'm a helper by nature. And sometimes these friends come to me with their problems. And I used to rattle off advice, expert advice in no time. And then it was at one point where my father said to me that, Romee, at times, sometimes people just want you to listen to them. Mm-hmm. They don't need you to say anything. Mm-hmm. They don't need your expertise, your advice, your words. They just need a hug. They just need you to hold their hand, a prayer perhaps. So I think attentiveness, it spans a whole lot of things. Listening actively, observing, as we said before, and just being very keen and emotionally intelligent, not pushing on to others what we want to give them, but trying to meet them halfway and give them the things that they really do need.
Yeah. Any final words as we wrap up? I mean, we've said so much, and I'm sure there's so much more that we could say, but anything that we haven't touched on, we touched on making sure you identify somebody's love language, listen more, observe more, be attentive, just stay in tune. And of course, with all of this, and as Andrew said, you need to make the time, if it is that you're going to buy a pair of shoes, you're going to spend time and sometimes compare, much less in trying to get to know somebody. Make the time. Any final words from any of you as we close this conversation?
Just keep in mind that without relationships, there's no you. There's no connecting with anyone. And the first thing with relationships is just getting to know the other person, whether it be at work or in the classroom or at home. So just get to know the person. If the person is so important to you, or at all important to you, you have to spend the time to get to know the person, get to know their temperament, what makes them angry, what makes them happy, what makes them normal. The in-between angry and happy there. Yeah. But yeah, take the time out to get to know the person.
My final word is something I've said before. Be respectful. Be kind and be respectful, because persons are going through a lot of things that they might not want to share with you. It might even be a significant other. You want to be respectful when trying to learn more about this person. Maybe you're rushing. Maybe that person wants to take it slow. Maybe there are some things they just don't want to say as yet. Give them time and be respectful. And please understand, though, a note of warning, you should not be disrespected. So it's a two-way street. Ensure that you are being kind and respectful and not rushing the person you're having joint conversations. And ensure that the person is treating you with as much respect as you should be treating them.
My final words are, when we live to learn, we learn to live. We learn to live fully. We learn to live selflessly. We learn to live for others. So let's live to learn. Because life is really about learning, and without learning, we go nowhere. So that's where the progress starts. Live to learn.
If you have listened and you've gained nothing from this podcast, that's on you. It's all about helping you to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. This was Making It Last, another podcast, another conversation. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.